CW23 presents See What's Now, your entertainment news source.
Hey everybody, it's John and Katie with CW23. Today we're very excited to have director Paul Dalio talking about his new film, Touched with Fire, starring Katie Holmes and Luke Kirby. It opens in theaters in the Twin Cities February 19th. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things I loved about this movie, it's not often that we get such a personal connection between director and the story itself. You struggled with bipolar yourself, so at what point in your experience with it did you realize that this was a story that you really wanted to tell?
It's interesting, actually, the origin of the first sentence of the story, the log line, came about when I was in Bulgaria with my wife and she was making her film, and she said, she was struggling with the script. She said, give me the idea for a crazy love story. I was like, two people meet in a hospital who have bipolar and they make each other crazy. And she was like, oh, no, you have to do that story. And then it was when I was working on another film with Spike, the executive producer, which was a story, it was like a rap musical of when I was lost in the psychosis that he was interested in. And she was like, no, you have to tell this story. She kept pushing me. And she said, you have to tell this story because the one that you were working on was when you were lost in it, This story is something that you would be making after you came out of it. It would have some hope for people who are still in it. And you always listen to the wife, so.
Exactly. You use a lot of different colors to create different moods and emotions in this film, and you shot the manic scenes in film. Tell us why you did that.
I designed the whole image of it, based on Starry Night, the color spectrums of Starry Night, being kind of the iconic, beautiful image of the sky that was seen through a sanitarium window that humanity now loves, and so it was a perfect symbol. And so the color spectrum of, also the sun and the moon, being Carla and Marco, she's in the yellows and he's in the blues. And the closer they come to each other, the brighter they make each other, the brighter the color schemes. And when they merge in the hospital, the blues and the yellows form Starry Night. And as they, go more and more manic, there was, brighter and brighter spotlights and darker shadows as the world, kind of dissolves into the shadows. And there was kind of illumination of how they illuminate the sky and each other. And then when they go into the depression, it was the opposite, which is what it feels like if you put a brain on a scan. It's all black and blue. So it was almost like the ashes of Starry Night. The fog, the spiraling, gray, abyss that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, even though there's subtle things that you did, it definitely sets the tone throughout the film. I think, emotionally.
Yeah, beautifully too.
It was important for people to see through manic eyes and see through depressive eyes, so that you're really in their skin and you really see the beauty that they see and the horror that they see. So that when you look at these people, you're seeing them through a lens of compassion. You don't see them from the outside. If you look at someone who's homeless in the street, who's got bloodshot eyes, who's a crazy stare looking up at the sky, you might not see that same view that Van Gogh saw through his sanitarium window.
This movie in particular, and Touched with Fire, pays tribute to a lot of well-known artists and creative minds throughout history that have had mental illnesses. Is there anyone in particular that you look up to yourself?
Well, to me, Van Gogh is the perfect example of an icon, because he gave humanity their most beloved image of the sky that they go to the MoMA to see, and it was seen through a sanitarium window. And he had a beautiful quote that always inspired me, which is, some people say I'm an eccentric, that I'm an unpleasant person, basically someone who has no position in society. Well, that may be true, but if so, I would love to show someday through my work, what such an eccentric has in his heart. And he did that, and I actually read that quote to my crew, my cast and my crew, on the first day of shooting, almost as like a wish. And so he's kind of the iconic symbol, but there's so many of the artists that actually touched me before I was bipolar, because I think it was something in me that was, underneath, that I could relate to, that only afterwards I learned, wow, those artists touched my life and, brought so much meaning to my life.
A lot of people, when they're originally diagnosed with bipolar, they resist the medication. Can you tell us what you would say to somebody in that situation?
It's a mix of the world viewing these people through a medical book lens, through these clinical eyes, which makes these people want to hide in the shadows and makes these people restrict their gifts. And if they knew that those could be gifts. You imagine the difference if a doctor says, you know what, you didn't see anything beautiful or magical, you just went crazy and we need to crush this disease, versus, you know what, something happened to you that can be a potential gift if you treat it right. And what I want to do is work with you to nurture that gift. And I think that's what would change the stigma. So the work that I've done now is much, much more profound than before bipolar. And that's why I think it's important for people who have it to know that, so they have a little more hope than just getting by. They have the hope that maybe something good can come out of this. Maybe I'll be better off for it.
Do you feel anything today as thrilling as the manic episodes that you had when you had bipolar, now that you're on medication?
Yes, this is important, I think, of why it's great to have an artistic outlet, because the artistic outlet allows you to resurrect the magic that you experience when you're in the mania and the meaning of the depths of the darkness, and make something out of it that almost resurrects the magic and preserves it in something that you can carry around with you for the rest of your life. And it's kind of the way of summoning that up in a way that's manageable. You know, and I think that's why it's very important that if someone has any artistic inclination, to use that to go back there in a meaningful way.
Well, we can't wait to see what you have in the future, Paul. Thank you for being here. This film was incredibly unique, and we both loved it. Everyone, make sure you check out Touched with Fire in theaters nationwide February 19th.